Hello, everyone. Welcome to the lineup. I am once again joined by Michael Coleman, the head owner of M3 Elite Training Facility just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Michael, thanks for joining us again, man. I really appreciate the time.
Absolutely, Rick. No problem at all.
Well, I know in our last conversation that kind of spanned over 3 weeks, we touched on a lot of things to do with youth baseball. It was very well received by the public. They loved having you on. So I can't thank you enough for joining us again. We got some topics again dealing with youth baseball that we're going to dive into, get your opinion on, and
Absolutely.
we're going to hopefully unsolve or solve the mysteries of the world.
Right.
I don't know if that's possible, but we're going to give it a
Right.
try.
We can add to the headache.
That might be a better way. We might be adding to the
Right.
headache. Well, the first topic, Michael, we're going to talk about, it's something that happened a little over a week ago. You and I had some text message exchanges about it, and it has to do with the Hype Fire, Easton Hype Fire drop five bat that was suspended. And I want to make sure that we clarify that it's been suspended, hasn't been banned yet by Perfect Game, but it was suspended. They're the only organization in the country, to my knowledge, that has suspended it. Everybody else has kind of come out and said they're not doing it because it passed the specifications that's required for use and travel
Right.
baseball. What are you hearing on your end of the town, and what's your thoughts on that?
Got some pissed off parents and some upset kids. And it's almost like a why me? Why us? Why this bat? Well, I mean, it's been going on for years. It just so happened this is the latest one out, and it's the one of the hottest ones out. And quite frankly, it's dangerous. It's there's no other way around it. It is hot. And you barrel this thing up as a pitcher, you have no reaction time. It's right back on you. I knew years ago when they finally made the decision to go to BB Core that it was just going to trickle down into the youth because all they do is make a different one every year and see which one's the hottest. Now you got bat bros that are basically for the world to see which bat is the hottest, which one gets the highest exit velo, and it's up there. That's not the only one. I don't think that's the only one that's going to be suspended, banned. They're trying their best to protect these kids. I get it. One accident away from somebody seriously getting hurt. That bat as hot as can be, and I mean, aren't we trying to protect the kids? I mean, that's you're trying your best, but I mean, you're fighting this battle every year. It's going to be if it ain't this one, it's going to be something else. So what are you going to do? Ban all the bats? I mean,
Okay, let me ask you this though, Michael. If it's past the specification tests,
right,
what I mean, what is the manufacturer, the parents, or anyone supposed to do? They're buying this bat with the understanding that it has passed the test, the compression test, right? The 1.15.
right.
So how can you explain that?
That may be the $1 million question. It's passed, and certain sanctions aren't getting rid of it. I can only imagine the amount of money that has been generated from this one bat along and all the different drops. This bat is insane. I went to some travel ball games this past weekend, and I swear the whole team at 10U, 11U, every kid had a hype fire. Now
Okay,
they didn't have a hype fire swing, but they had the hype fire.
okay, but the eights and the tens have not been banned or suspended. It's
No,
just to drop fives. And so that's another question. Why did they only choose to drop fives instead of the eights and the tens? I mean, because I'm hearing the eights and tens are live bats as well.
they're just as hot. And you know, as I know, you go into certain tournaments, your tournaments, East Cobb, Lake Point, it's going to take a certain team or certain kids that's going to generate that kind of exit velo that's going to hurt somebody. I get it. That's why they made the drop three BB core to slow it down, to give the pitcher an opportunity to protect himself. But I throw behind the net religiously, and I would never throw BP to any kid without a net. And I have a double net, and I threw one the other day, and we were just playing around. And this is one of my seniors. He was like, "Man, I wonder what this thing will do." He brought his brothers in here, and it was a drop five, and he's a senior. Now, mind you, he's hitting 99, 100 with a BB core. He grabbed this thing, and that's the first time I've seen my hit tracks go up to 114. I've never seen that. But when he hit it, I swear my life flashed. If that net wasn't there, that triangle, I wouldn't be
Yeah.
talking to you right now. I don't imagine being a pitcher out there, and as soon as you release the ball, it's right back at you. So how do you get that glove back up to protect yourself? It's some big 10-year-olds out there.
There is, and I do agree with that statement, Michael. But we've all probably seen the video by Bat Bros,
Oh yeah,
comparing the Wood and the
right,
Hype Fire 5. I've got some issues with that video, to be honest with you. I don't think he took the same swing with Wood as he did the Hype Fire.
right. I've heard that.
I think
I saw it, but I've heard it also.
yeah, and we all know there's a difference between wood and
One
in
hundred percent.
composite alloys. If your argument is to get rid of the composite alloy bats, then okay, and then I'll look at the video. But
Right.
if you're trying to tell me, he's a 30-year-old man. I don't know of any 13-year-old kid that's got an exit velo over
Nobody's
100.
hitting that ball like that. Absolutely not.
And I've also seen some studies too that talked about the hype fire, the extra exit velo, and you're talking about 0.02 tenths of a reaction, which is basically faster than you can snap the fingers.
Oh yeah, you
So
blink, it's on you.
is it really that big of a difference than all the other bats? So, and listen, I'm not on here condoning to keep the hype fire or get rid of it.
Right.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm just telling you what I'm hearing out in the world,
Right.
just as you are yourself telling me you had an experience with it, and with pitching batting practice to a senior.
Right.
Again, we're talking about a full-fledged grown, close to being an
Right.
adult if he's not already an adult
100%.
person.
Right.
So there is a little bit of difference. Conspiracy theorists out there, Michael, I'm sure you've heard this. They're all talking about, this is all driven by money because, a certain organization's getting ready to release their own line of bats. Um, they're coming out with a BB core version. They are coming out with a youth version. I've
Oh
heard
yeah.
some refutes of that. Well, they're only coming out with the BB core version, but then there was some proof that they said they're going to release the youth version in the spring. So
Right.
conspiracy theorists are out there talking about, well, this is all money driven. I do know Easton. I think you've seen it, or you sent it to me, or I sent it to you. The response that
Yeah.
Easton had, they weren't happy with how they're being portrayed with this bat. And
I
like
mean,
you
isn't it
said,
isn't it their job to make the hottest new thing
well, it is within the rules, right?
within the rules?
And
And if you meet the specifications, what's the problem?
I guess that's everybody's question across the country is, if this bat is meeting the specifications within the rules, then what is the problem?
Right.
And I don't have an answer for him. I don't know if you have an answer for him. I don't know if anybody has an answer for him. I guess I'm hearing, again, this is just speculation. I'm hearing that there is a lawsuit going on because a kid did get injured. Have you heard anything
Yeah.
about that?
Bits and pieces, and you can Google it and pull it up also. It's going to take I don't want to say the right kid. It's going to take a kid to get hit hard enough where he is really injured, and that family or that parent that takes it a step beyond, and now you're wanting to sue. Well, you bought the bat for your kid because it's the hottest thing out, but your kid's on the receiving end of somebody else swinging this same bat. You surely knew what you were buying, and it can go both ways. I don't think Easton set out to get nobody hurt. That's not the point in all this. It's several bats out there. There's a lot of kids that don't have high fires that hit just as good. Um, if your mechanics are where they're supposed to be, or you get from point A to point B at the exact right time, you can have any bat in your hand that can injure somebody.
And I guess that brings me to my next point, Michael. If somebody gets injured swinging the hype fire, which is, again, I have to reiterate, it is
Right.
past all testing that needs to be done in order to be legal to play
That's why
with.
it's not banned right now.
Correct. But my question to you is, somebody gets injured, like you said, they want to sue. They want to sue the tournament organization. They want to sue the bat manufacturer. Again, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Let's put a wood bat in the hand. Heaven
Right.
forbid somebody gets hurt with a wood bat swinging. Are those parents going to swing or sue the manufacturer of the wood bat company?
It'll be somebody that tries to set that standard. Absolutely. Me personally, I was talking to a kid yesterday. I wish at 14U it would be wood the rest of the way for those kids. Once you get into 14U, make it wood, and not only in high school also. But I'm also a former athlete, and I love wood. I know the sound of it. It's a true. You can tell if a kid can really hit or not if he can handle the wood. And I've seen some that struggle with the wood, do great with the aluminum. Well, you got that extra advantage. I get it. But when you go to these showcases and whatnot, and you're in front of these coaches and scouts, you got to be able to handle wood. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But that will also take a lot of money out of some people's pockets.
Money. We talked
It,
about that in our last
it,
time we spoke.
everything revolves around it. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
That's why this thing is not completely banned, because now you got people, rightfully so, wanting what? Refunds. And they didn't sign up for this, but I also got to think, if I go out, me personally, I go buy a bat, and I know it's the hottest thing out, even with my experience, I know there's a chance this thing on down the pipeline somewhere may get banned or something. So I'm going to approach it a little different than the average person.
All right. I got to ask you though,
Yep.
if the Hype Fire ends up getting banned, doesn't that just mean that another bat moves up to be the hottest bat? I mean, where does it end?
100%. What's the Rollins one? The Rollins bat.
Icon.
That's next.
That's
You remember the Ghost? The
Oh,
Ghost.
yeah.
I've got 3 of them in here now. Drop fives. It's like a hollow sound. It's not like the ping sound of the one-piece bat. It is hollow, and that ball is absolutely scorched when it's coming off that barrel. You can mishit a ball and still do damage with it. I mean,
well, how do you think? And I don't know because I'm not a bat manufacturer.
right.
And like you said, these bat manufacturers are trying to produce the bat that walks right up to that line and be an effective bat that everybody wants, right?
100%.
So how do you, I mean, if this bat proves to be not compliant, then I completely understand what everybody's talking about, right? But if it's proven to be compliant, I mean, at that point, what are we doing?
Great point.
I mean,
what are we doing? If it's proved that you walk in Dick's right now, they didn't take the bats off the shelf. They're still there, and they got a big sign right there saying they're currently suspended. So I guess you buy at your own risk. Because if it gets suspended, then what?
Well, here's another thing. You know as well as I do. You've been to Cooperstown. I've been there 10 times myself. Cooperstown, their philosophy there is
they want you to hit a home run.
If you can walk up to the plate with it, you can swing it. There's no bats banned.
100 ain't nothing banned. They want to see home runs. They encourage it. They want every kid to experience that. And
okay, that brings me to my next point. You and I have been in this game long enough to know that participation in baseball struggles, right? Kids, not all kids are coordinated enough or talented enough to play baseball on a consistent level. And what's the one thing that everybody tries to do to get kids to participate? They want them to have fun.
Yep.
And we're not talking about high level teams here, right? We know those kids are on a different plane. They're going to play baseball regardless of what you do. You put a toothpick in their hand, they're still going to play the game. But to me, this trickles down to the AA teams and even some lower level AAA teams. And let's face it, Michael, we've been doing this long enough. We understand that if a kid's not having fun, he's not playing baseball.
He ain't playing. This ain't that sport. Nope.
He's not playing. And that was the problem, if you remember, with the USA bats, right?
Yeah.
Those lower level kids couldn't hit the ball out of the infield, and they just said, screw it, we're not playing.
It's funny because yesterday I had a 7-year-old and an 8-year-old. They were back to back. They're good friends. That's how they end up here, word of mouth. And they both have USA bats. Well, they're terrible. I don't care what you do to them, roll them, bake them. It don't matter. They are terrible. As soon as they come in here, they never touch their bats. They go to the rack and grab a U-trip bat. And that's what they swing for the hour. And you know what? For them, for the encouragement, yes, go right ahead, because swinging that USA bat, it does absolutely nothing. It just, I mean, I get why Little League stepped in. We all know why. The almighty dollar. I get it. And you're forcing them to swing these bats, which is going to lead for a lot of parents to take their kids out of Little League just because of that.
Right. And so we're talking with a fine line here. Now, let's face it, if you put a Hype Fire in the hands of a AA player, it's like you said. If they've got a 50-cent swing, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
But I think what it is with these older elite travel teams that you and I see and that we've experienced.
Put that thing in ZT's lineup or East Cobb's lineup or any of them at the major level. It's insane.
But now I'm going to twist this a little bit, Michael. I think there's a bigger problem that's underlying with all this.
Mm-hmm.
And you might know where I'm going to go with this. And you are having grade eligible kids swinging this
Yep.
bat. So
Yep.
you've got 14-year-olds, probably
That's
soon to
the
be turned
problem.
15, swinging these drop five. Is to me, and I don't know about you, that might be the backdoor issue to all of this.
That's where I think all this is coming from, because that's been generated from older kids who should be at another level playing anyway, but by their grade exemption or reclass, they get to by rule they can swing it, and there's nothing
Right.
you can do about it. But this ain't just happened. This has been going on. You got kids who reclass for the right reasons, some who are struggling education wise. You got some that reclass for sports reasons, and you got dads that'll tell you that they don't feel like their kids can compete at that level, and they go back and they absolutely dominate, which is what they're supposed to do. You're a full year ahead of these kids.
Right.
That's what you're supposed to do. But look at half the draft to reclass, more than half. I get it. If your kid is that, could potentially be that type of kid, but it's not for everybody. And I can't say that I wouldn't do it if it was my kid, if I was put in that situation, but I'm not. I've got girls, older girls, but it's become, that's part of it right now. What do we do?
Well, what we can do is we can go back. We can go back
Well, yeah,
to
you can.
age. We can go back to age. Let me tell you this. I've got an event coming up in Mesa, Arizona in December between Christmas and New Year's. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a fun event for kids to come and play. And we're not allowing reclass kids. You're going to play your age in this event. And
Love it. Love it.
that's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
Now, I can do that for one event that's just basically a for fun event, and
Right.
we're taking 12 kids, and that's what it's going to happen. So you can kind of do it that way. But in these worlds of tournaments, I mean, let's
They don't
face
want
it.
the bad publicity behind it and the social media stuff, and all of it's going to follow.
Well, I mean, let's face it. PG kind of leads the way in making
Yeah.
those types of rules. And if PG makes that rules, if these other organizations don't follow, they're not going to get teams to play.
Yeah.
So, um, I think PG is the reason this all got changed. In my opinion, PG made
Right.
the rules for the grad kids and the younger ages. And listen, I think their heart was on the right reason initially. They were doing it for the right reasons. But like you
Right.
just said, there's people that are doing it for the wrong reasons. And now we as a baseball community are finding ourselves in a pickle. And man, I wish it would go back to, hey, whatever your birth date is, that's the age that you play.
That's what you play.
It doesn't matter what your grade is. It doesn't matter. It's how old
Now
you
you
are.
you remember back in the day when U-Trip was at the top of the landscape where PG is, and wasn't all this going on, and it just
Right.
started to slowly but surely change once PG got in this state, that state, and it just kind of just. And you really don't. Not that you don't hear about U-Trip, you hear about it in certain states that are U-Trip states or cities. The perfect game, they've kind of swallowed it all,
Well,
and everywhere you go, it's perfect game.
the first year, I was putting my foot down and I was not changing my rule to allow grad
Right.
kids. It was going to be age only. I quickly realized that if I stuck to that, there was going to be no teams playing in my TBS national event.
Was not. And
And
that's just
so
the truth of it.
it's just the truth of it. And so a small guy like me, I'm not a big conglomerate. I don't run 10,000 tournaments a year. I was forced to make a change, unwillingly, but I
Right.
had to make it if I was going to survive.
Yeah.
But coming up with this event in Mesa, I'm putting my foot down. No grad kids. You're going to play your age. I don't care what grade you're at. It doesn't matter to me. How old are you? That's what it is.
Why wouldn't, as a parent though? I mean, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to?
I know it's a monster right now. I don't think it was intended to be that way. I truly don't think it was intended to be that
I
way.
don't think it was set out to be that way. No.
But
But
you know
once
as
it
well
got
as I do,
started, it has not stopped, and it's full steam ahead.
people figure out how to exploit loopholes in your rules, and
Parents already planning this for when their kid get to this age. We're
yeah,
gonna go back a year, and this is already in the works.
yeah. and man, I just wish we could go back to the old way. I wish we go back to
Yeah,
grade exemptions not being a part of what we do. It's your
right.
age. I can remember my son is now 30. I can remember when he started playing ball, Michael, the age was the end of August, so September
End
1st.
of August. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the
September 1.
original.
September 1.
And then it got moved back to May 1, and this is where everybody gets confused. Little League World
How'd you go from
Series.
September to May?
Well, the story I heard, and I don't know how true this is, but the story I heard, there was a higher up involved with Little League Baseball, and his grandson had that May birthday, and he wanted him to play in the Little League World Series, so they changed the rule to go back to May 1. So
For
that way
one
his
kid?
grandson would be eligible. That's the story I've heard. That's the story I've heard for years, that's why it went to that.
Oh, wow.
Because you
Guess
got to
I've
remember
always
back.
wondered that.
So, you figure that's been, 20 years ago, at least, that this
Right.
happened. And back then, probably when Little League made rules, everybody, it's like now, somebody
Right.
that had the power made the rule, everybody else had to follow, or they were going to be in trouble.
Right.
So, and now that's where it is on May 1st. And listen, I understand no matter where you put the cutoff, February, May,
Yeah.
September, one kid's always going to have an 11-month advantage,
Yeah.
no matter where you put it. But the confusion lies when you go to these end of the year events,
Right.
Little League World Series included, and you're playing in a 12-year-old division, but you're 13 years old the day you're playing the event.
Clearly 13. Clearly been playing travel ball all summer long.
Back in the old days, when the date was the end of September, or I'm sorry, the end of August, September always started your new year. So you never had that problem. When you played your event in July, your
Right.
World Series, everybody was still 12. There was still no problem. So that's where it's at. Man, I would love to see it.
It's funny that I was watching Little League last year because, I mean, me personally, I'm not an advocate of Little League. I like teaching the real game and not leading off and can't steal and all the other stuff that comes with Little League. I get it. But Little League ain't really Little League because all them kids play travel ball. It's changed over the years dramatically. Sure. And I'm watching the live feed and I'm listening to these announcers who don't know certain kids. But I know a lot of these kids from travel ball, especially ZT, because they're always in the championship.
Yeah.
I'm watching ZT shortstop. Absolutely just, he ain't doing nothing I ain't seen all year. But people who don't know, these announcers don't know, they are ranting and raving. I'm sitting here watching the TV like they have no clue who this is. Zero clue.
He was at the TBS Nationals last year with ZT, and he's good. I mean, he's very smooth. His feet work.
But imagine how much
tremendous.
better he is at that level.
Yes.
He's a superstar at that level.
Yeah. He sticks out like a sore thumb. I mean,
like a sore thumb.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody just ooh and ahs over, what he does, and for that he was really off the charts good. But you put him in
he
the
got
TBS
a lot
Nationals,
of publicity from behind that.
Yeah, and he's another one of the players.
He's another one when you put him where he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I could have went out and put together a quote unquote Little League team, compromise of my travel ball kids, and pick the best of the best. But I wasn't trying to. I guess I could see the big picture, and it wasn't not that I didn't. We all don't watch the Little League World Series, we do, but I found more development in playing in the major type tournaments every weekend, every other weekend, to get them on that track. So when I can go down the street and watch 3 of my kids play for Vanderbilt, it was because of the track that they played on, the TBS, East Cobb, Perfect Game, all the stuff that they did that challenged them every weekend. I feel like that played a big part in what they're doing now and the level they're playing at.
Yeah, and it's a different world for those guys.
Yes, 100%.
It's a world that they need to be in. It's a world that they
mindset totally different.
Totally different. The whole approach, we all know a AA kid, and no disrespect to AA kids. Listen, if somebody finds a home where they're happy and playing the game, then I support it 100%.
Oh yeah.
But you're going to be bored if you start putting AA teams against these high-level major teams and the scores are 50.
We know what happens in pool play when that happens.
I mean, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Nobody learns anything. And I used to tell my kids when I was coaching, every game when you play, when you're done with that game, you should have learned something. You
Yeah.
should have learned, I don't care what it is, something just small. How to read a bat or how to move your feet work just a little bit different. You always should learn something. But when you pit a double A team and a major team together in pool play
That
and it's
don't turn
15 to
out
nothing,
well.
you don't learn
And
anything.
those
Nobody learns
kids
anything.
aren't those kids are losing.
It's the parents. The parents is the driving force behind this. I don't think
100%.
the kid just plays wherever the parents say, hey, this is where you're playing. I
Yep.
don't, especially when you're 9, 10, 11 years old, right?
Oh yeah.
Kid don't even realize what a great eligible kid is.
No idea what you're even talking about.
He has no idea. He's just out there playing baseball, the game that he loves with his friends, and he's out there doing it.
This kid is 4'4", and he's looking at a kid that's 6 foot tall. Like, what in the world is going on? Yeah, welcome. Welcome, Johnny.
Yeah. Boy, I tell you, and I guess the parents are the driving force. And, you know, parents are both the best thing and the worst thing that happened to youth baseball.
All on the same weekend.
But unfortunately, that's going to be a topic for another day because we are out of time for today. Man, this has flown by. I can't believe how fast this went by. I mean, when you're talking about something you're passionate about and get the information out there to the parents, man, I know they're going to appreciate this, Michael. Thanks for taking the time to join us. We're going to do this again, man,
Rick.
because we have
I'm
so
available.
many
You just let me know, big dog.
Anytime, man, because I want to talk about so many topics. I don't want to spoil it for future references, but we're going to get into it, man. I enjoy this.
I'm a text message away. Just holler at me, and I got you.
I thank you so much, man. Have a great day.
You too, big guy.